How about that? This is Jake Living Payne, and this is things you might have heard. I am going to present for you 8 news stories now is not muted that you deem as conversational to chat up for this morning as I'm doing this live, 5:30 a.m., whether you're watching this with a live broadcast or on a replay later on. We thank you for being a part of our family and getting into the news and getting past some of the news where in some cases mainstream is getting stuck on the Trump stories. And we do that as well. Starting off with, we have stories on Marco Rubio joining forces with Donald Trump. Also, Jesse Waters being disinvited because of Donald Trump, and Sam Bankman-Fried, which has nothing to do with Trump, but it's an interesting story. One of 8 total stories we have that you deemed as conversational. The vetting process for these stories, which include information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. We'll explain that in a moment. But first, let's remind you that our website, This is a Conversation Project.com, is where you can find all the stuff about the Conversation Project. And of course, our email address, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. So you can send your compliments, send your complaints, send whatever comments you want to via email. If I have not said so far, and I probably said it while things were muted, it is Wednesday, the 13th of November, 2024. More things on the way. No particular order, as the news stories will be presented to you in the moment, other than the fact that this seemed like the best way to do the narrative. We'll give you some context on what stories were really, really big in the vetting process and what stories were sort of smaller but seemed like a better story to talk about in the conversation. And we kick things off right off the bat with no more little Marco. Maybe he's still little Marco, but he is now joining forces with arch nemesis and the man he called a con artist when he ran against him as president. Now he may work for him as Secretary of State. Trump is set to select him, Marco Rubio, as Secretary of State, an historic appointment for Rubio himself, who would be the foreign leader of Hispanic origin, of a man that's really actually qualified. Of all the people that have been popped up lately for these spots, he's one that's really qualified for this. Even after sparring with President Trump for so long, over so much time, Rubio is now basically, falling in step with Trump as the man's making the plans, and so he may be able to get a good chump on that one. Now, what happens to his seat in Florida? Well, because he was a Florida senator, it really made it difficult and impossible for him to be a vice presidential candidate that was really viable, which may have been a better one than Vance, some would say. But it also means that someone has to fill a spot. Florida will do its best to fill a spot with another Republican, if possible. The various states have various different methods on how they actually assign people going forward that. But looks like a good shot for Mr. Rubio, one of the highest-ranking Latino officials in the U.S. cabinet. So that's something really good historic in that way. This would go to show more of a line of sense that Donald Trump is actually maybe has a shift in mindset, and maybe we'll do things a little bit differently and be a bit more professional. And then we have the news that we'll probably talk more about in tomorrow when we have those stories get a chance to run the score up in your engagement, where Mike Huckabee is tasked to be the ambassador to Israel, and he's known to say things like Palestinians don't exist. And there's a Fox News host who was a veteran who Donald Trump wants to be the Secretary of Defense, that basically says women should not be in combat roles, and just says a lot of machismo things. Your mileage may vary on those things. There are some picks that people are scratching their heads on, and some picks people think, hey, this may be a good one. We'll see as the picks come in and who actually gets confirmed and who gets passed off on recess appointments coming soon. We're not done with Don yet, because story number 2 is his legal issues, or now slowly lack of legal issues, as the New York hush money sentencing is in jeopardy as a case deadline is now paused. The sentencing for Donald Trump's New York hush money case faces uncertainty as the court deadlines have been temporarily paused. Pause could delay proceedings related to the allegations of payments made during the 2016 presidential campaign to silence claims of extramarital affairs. The delay arises amid ongoing legal debates and procedural challenges that may impact the timeline of the case. The legal analysts suggesting that the pause can affect not only the sentencing, but also the other cases and developments going forward with that one. Of course, Trump's legal team has argued against some procedural aspects of this case in particular, all cases in general, further complicating the process. And this unexpected delay raises questions about the future of the case, this case, and other cases, and its impact in Trump's legal standing. Now, the commentary from me basically is Trump is now president-elect. In a few months, he'll be the president. These things will mostly go away or be paused, because you cannot, per tradition mostly, or basically no one's really tested it, put a current president on trial for anything. What's going to be interesting is what happens in Georgia, because that has nothing to do with federal stuff as well. This one in New York also not so much as well, but it was dealing with election interference. in a manner where it was hush money to stop election interference or something like that. We're going to see how this one plays out because it's got to play out in some way. They don't just magically disappear. There actually is some procedure to this. We'll see how our legal system works for us, US, and him, DJT, very soon. More legal issues, this time for Jack Teixeira, who is the Pentagon leaker who sentenced to 15 years on the federal charges he received. The former Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified Pentagon documents has been sentenced to 15 years in a federal prison, found guilty of unauthorized disclosure of sensitive national defense information, including classified material shared on social media, basically sharing to the guys he played World of Warcraft with. The leaked documents purportedly covered various national security topics, sparking widespread concerns over data security within the military. One of those concerns, why does this low-level guy have access to this stuff, and how does he just get it to share with his World of Warcraft or Call of Duty buddies? Texier's actions prompted the Pentagon to reassess its protocols in handling the classified information, and this 15-year sentence reflects the severity of the charges that the potential risk that his leaks pose to national security. The case also serves as a stark reminder of the legal consequences of breaching government confidentiality. Side note, unless you're Donald Trump. Had to put that in. I'm sorry, had to put that dig in there. It had to go. Let's talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, or technically we're talking about Lena Dunham, who is writing a movie about the FTX founder, Mr. SBF, for Apple and A24. She's writing a movie, a film set about FTX and the founder himself, Sam Bankman-Fried, and collaborating with Apple and production company A24 to make this happen. The film will explore the rise and the fall of Bankman-Fried. With cryptocurrency exchange, FTX became the focal point of financial and legal controversy, both as a stallion of unicornness and, of course, being a flat-up fraud. Known for her unique storytelling approach, Dunham is expected to bring a distinct perspective for Bankman-Fried's complex personality. Not that complex, he's just kind of a weirdo who had a good idea and then stole from himself. Not too complex on that one. And, of course, a scandal, which, of course, is still having ripples in the crypto industry. This project is highlighting Hollywood's ongoing interest in recent high-profile financial collapses and key players in those deals. The involvement with Apple and A24 indicates it's a good backing for the film. There's cash behind it, and it may be both a deep dive into Bankman-Fried's story and broader commentary on the tech financial future. So we won't know what happens until we get the script, until we get the movie. Audiences have been captivated by these sort of stories. I mean, I was all into the Texier story because that was just so wild and wacky how that one worked out, and seeing that played, although mostly in dramatizations, was a pretty big deal and something that caught my attention. We'll see what happens for Sam Bankman-Fried and all the crypto bros and how they get their attention caught coming soon to these site of features. Quick chance to pause for the news. We have 4 more news stories to provide for you this morning, but we want to give you a chance to enjoy what you're having and help other people enjoy it as well. So if you're enjoying what we're having here in our news commentary, the news and my commentary, we ask you a couple things. Like what you're seeing out there. Give a thumbs up. Give the little emoji button. That's the face that you like, or maybe the mean face because you don't like the story, but you like us. Engage with the stories we have here. And so more people see more engagement as you put it out there on whatever platform you're watching it. And we'll get more eyeballs coming our way via algorithms. Also, bypass algorithms and share this with folks who love this type of stuff. People who love news that's irrelevant, that's quirky, that's direct to what people are talking about, and it bypasses some of the stuck news we have that's the mainstream media. We're talking about a lot of Trump. We have a lot of Trump stuff there because that is important stories in the commentary. I think will give you a nice perspective, but it's not all about Trump and his appointees. There is more things going on. I mean, there is a movie about Sam Bankman-Fried coming up. I mean, that's happening. So we want you to share that with folks who enjoy these things and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to what we're having. So you get these things directing your feeds, whichever platforms you're onto, whether it's a TikTok, whether it's on the X, whether you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe and we will see what we can provide for you and you will see what is provided and help out those things out. We thank you so much for your love, your support, and being part of the family we have here. Robot Editor had issues yesterday when we put up the story about the Spirit flight that was shot at that had an injured flight attendant. The Robot Editor did much better for this one with headline, JetBlue plane apparently struck by gunfire in Haiti continues safely to New York. as a plane that was poorly struck in Haiti still was able to get to New York without any incident. And the aircraft prepared for takeoff. Gunfire was encountered at the airport, and it happened to not hurt anybody. But the plane was shot at. It was there. It highlights what's going on in Haiti, as the instability and just the unrest that's happening around the world. Now, what has been added to this is another story, a different story, a wrinkle where essentially flights into Haiti have been paused for a few days, about 28, I believe, because of unrest. So commercial flights in and out of Haiti will be extremely scarce because the U.S. is trying to pause them because people are shooting at planes at the airport. Not a fun look. Here's a story that didn't get a lot of love on the Twitter, but it did get a bunch of Facebook love. So Facebook pushed it in here, and we had to kind of choose and switch a couple things to get in there. This is one that's kind of a story, but it you guys care about the stuff and watch people, and some reason Skai Jackson is a lot of fodder. I don't know what she's actually doing because I don't watch what she's actually doing lately, but we do know she's making babies. Literally, she's giving birth soon. As Skai Jackson, the former Disney star, announces she's pregnant. And if you're watching the video of this, you see the top half of a picture, and I'm saving you pregnant baby belly, because pregnant baby belly can be dramatic at this time of the morning. From Teen Vogue, because she's still being covered by Teen Vogue, the former Disney star has recently announced that she's expecting her first child. Known for her roles on popular shows like Jessie, Jackson's news surprised many of her fans and followers. She shared her pregnancy with an excited message on social media, receiving congratulations and support from friends and like. At 22 years old, Jackson has transitioned from a child star to a young adult navigating new milestones in her life. Basically doing a lot of speaking and public speaking and activism, to be honest. Not a lot of acting, but activism. The announcement makes a significant personal moment for the actress, who's grown up in the public eye. Fans are looking forward to her new journey in motherhood. Her and her boyfriend are apparently doing just fine. Baby is apparently happy and well for babies in the bellies. We're going to move on from this one because I see the baby picture over here in my setup, and yeah, I need to move that on and move on to more depressing news. This is good news. This is depressing news. The headline for story at number 7, and we're going to go stretch past this headline because there's a lot of things wrapped into this one, is MSNBC's ratings crater as viewers tune out Trump victory coverage. We're going to throw some CNN in here as well because it's relevant, and we'll get the Fox News in a moment. But MSNBC has experienced an significant drop in ratings as many viewers have turned away from coverage of Donald Trump based off the recent stuff for his legal stuff, which is going away, and his political victory, which means he's not going away. The network, which often attracts the audience with liberal leanings, saw a marked decline in some viewers after the election. Essentially, once it was figured out he was going to win, and as it got bigger with the distance between him and Kamala Harris, basically people were just kind of tired of hearing the Trump stuff. And for MSNBC, it's hard to battle against Trump when Trump won by so much. And as MSNBC tends to do, they're just flat out battling and going back and forth. There may be some things to bring out, maybe some things, some points of contention to make sure that he stays on the right path of things. But when your guy doesn't win, or in this case, your gal doesn't win, it's hard watching you complain about the other guy. And that's what's happening over there. Trump fatigue is basically falling in for folks at all the networks, CNN and MSNBC specifically, because they were so anti-Trumpish. CNN trying to, trying to not be as anti-Trump as open, but they have been. With that, we'll get the Fox News in a moment, but we have to sneak in a quick CNN story. Now, CNN is rumored to be firing more people because they're losing money, and after election, they're also losing viewers as well. People aren't paying much attention. And while they have the late night shows, which are basically 10 panelists talking over each other, it's turning into something that's not effective. Maybe it's effective because it's less people having to do actual news gathering, news work, less producing, and just having people doing hot takes. But I don't know if the cost is so much for the hot takes or just the hot takes aren't catching attention because the arguments are gone. One of the biggest people who are leaving now is going to be Chris Wallace, who made a big jump off of Fox News heading to CNN when they had the CNN Plus that launched for about a day and a half to do some side shows. He's still doing the side show, still doing the Who's Talking show, which is more or less a homage to Larry King, and he does the weekly show I watch religiously, the Chris Wallace show, where it's like old school Crossfire, except it's not a bunch of old white guys yelling at each other, which is kind of cool. But CNN is losing Chris Wallace as his contract is wrapping up. We had rumors of the fact that his contract was not going to be extended or nothing major, no big raise to him and many other people. So he's going to see what digital media has, what new media is going to give to him, what other smaller platform will throw at him. Not going back to Fox News, at least not saying that, but seeing if he can join up with some other sparky little internet dealio and try to make some money and make some waves and do something at his age, which, in his 70s at this point in time isn't necessarily all that old, but at his, his stature in the business, his age itself is kind of an issue. And see what he can do to gamble on to some of the newer stuff. He does a lot of work with Kara Swisher, so maybe she has something up her sleeve to get Chris Wallace onto the digital age of new stuff. So we'll see how things are playing out. Fox News doing fine, doing okay, including having a member of the weekend team maybe be the Secretary of Defense. But that's not the story we're focused on right now. Right now, story number 8 is this guy, Jesse Waters, whose mother has disinvited him from Thanksgiving dinner after Trump won. Trump won. So, Fox News host revealed that his mother actually disinvited him from Thanksgiving dinner following the Trump win of the election, citing a lack of space at the table. Waters is known for conservative views and vocal support of Trump, suggested that the exclusion was politically motivated, though his mother's exact reasons were left somewhat ambiguous. The lighthearted announcement has sparked discussions about how differing political views continue to create tensions within families. This incident highlights the personal impact of political divisions, especially as the holidays approach, with Waters sharing the story with a mix of humor and wit, and a little bit of disappointment, underscoring the challenges of balancing family relationships with strongly held political beliefs. This anecdote was resonated with many families who are familiar with this thing, having dynamics that work this way. It's definitely along political lines dealing with a Trump election or any election in general. Republicans and Democrats always have some issues. They always have a quote unquote crazy uncle who does not believe what you believe. And nowadays, more people are believing more conservative stuff and more crazy liberal uncles than the vice versa. It's an Archie Bunker kind of house that's upside down, if you will. And this is one case where Jesse Waters, who I believe said if his wife were to vote for Kamala Harris and not tell him was basically adultery or something like that. Being a bit cheeky about the announcement, maybe it's real, maybe it's not, but we're going to see how this one plays out. I don't think you'll be sitting at a McDonald's on Thanksgiving. Well, McDonald's isn't open, but I don't think we're sitting at a Chinese restaurant on Thanksgiving, crying his sorrows in some dim sum, because somebody will take him in, probably his own family somewhere. Let's move on to our teaser story. The teaser story is our transition part from the regular news to the teaser part, to the feeds part, to the explanation of how we get the news into this program. 8 stories we presented for you today. And those 8 stories came from you and your engagement in what we call our feeds. Our feeds are our links on X, our links on Facebook, and on Threads. Threads.net/@thisisconversation, x.com/th_conversation, and facebook.com/thisisconversation project. Now, we tell you honestly because it's how it works. Threads is kind of every so often it'll give us something that kind of basically shores up something else. But X is basically where it's at, where because of the quick responses and quick ways to engage in it, it usually gives us the roadmap we're going to. Then Facebook will add in a couple of things that we need to look into to see how to go as well. Basically, support other stories. Facebook this time pushed in the Skai Jackson story because it did not have the true numbers from the engagement we get on X, but the Facebook engagement was off the charts for what it's worth. So we put it in there and scooted out a couple other stories, including a couple of stories about, the merging of Amazon Prime and Freevee, which will probably get covered today, as it was a early morning story here. So probably enough to cover it for tomorrow's show, I should say. Excuse me, caught in a little burp thing going. But here's a story that we're hyping up that I'm almost positive we'll get to because it's about Jim or Jack. Actually, it's about John. John Krasinski has been named People's Sexiest Man Alive for 2024. Jim from The Office, Jack Ryan from Amazon is now your sexiest man alive. And days before, prior sexy man alives were chiming in what to do about this great honor before it was released on who it was going to be for this year. This year is that Jim from The Office is your sexiest man alive. So will we talk about Jim, or more specifically John, tomorrow as this big honor for him coming up? You just have to follow us on our feeds and engage in the stories. Literally talk about the stories that we're talking about, and we will talk about them just like that. Click the emoji face, click the reaction you want to show you're engaging with it. Share it with other folks. Read it. Do some comments on how Jim is the right Jim, right Jack, right John, right guy to be oh so sexy. And we will see if it's consideration. Now, we take about 30 stories. We hit about 30 stories within a day's worth of time. We take the top half of those stories, the 15, 16 thereabouts, and see how they look in the rankings just on your engagement. From there, 8 stories are picked to present to you here. And like we said, we look at stories that are engaging and find the best narrative. This will be a great narrative if you want some, but it's all about what y'all want to say to make this one happen for tomorrow. Our spotlight sponsor for the day is the Zenni Optical website service, the peeps, the glasses, the lenses, the frames, the little things you do to hang your glasses around your neck, all the things about Zenni Optical, because Zenni Optical is the best place that I have found to buy my glasses, because I've bought from Zenni Optical for 10 years straight. Looking for stylish, affordable eyewear is not an issue because there's no compromise for quality from Zenni Optical. They transform you with the best glasses you can find, and best glasses you can find are very inexpensive. Two things, same thing. It's up to you. Buy glasses from Zenni and for thousands of frames from every look, every style, classic to trendy, all at prices that fit your budget. And you don't overpay because frames start as low as $6.95, $6.95. And quality vision is accessible to everyone, whether you need glasses for men, for women, or for children. Zenni Optical can make the perfect pair of yours in comfort and style and send it straight to your home. You can also just upload your photo to the website and browse the lenses themselves. You don't have to go into a store. You don't have to, try to do anything fancy, and just looking how the lenses look on you and see if the pick is there and get your glasses inexpensively. Did I say they're inexpensive? Did I say they cost less? Because they do. And you can get them fast, easy, and the great customer service. And if you're a brand new user, if you've not used them before, you get 10% off your first order, just like that. And we get a small commission from these here buys by using our link. This is the conversationproject.com/Zenni. This is the conversationproject.com/Zenni from Zenni Optical. Like I said, this is an affiliate link, so we get a small commission. It costs you nothing extra, but it helps us keep us on the internet airwaves, if you will. So check them out, because you need to take care of your eyes, take care of your wallet, take care of your family using Zenni Optical. Let's move on to one more stop before we wrap this thing up. This is our conversational part about the Conversation Project. Literally talking about us right now. The talk about us is us. The Conversation Project is a project where we're looking to get more people into conversations. I have a live chat thing that just says, is this the infomercial project? No, it's one commercial because we have to pay for things. And that's how the internet works. Thank you. It's Vladi Dad. Thank you for that one, live chat. But this is the Conversation Project. And the Conversation Project is about news stories and headlines and things they're chatting about to get into conversation. So as we work on these things, we do what we can to get the good stories in there. And you actually help us with the good stories. We put out a news article every 50 minutes or so on the feeds. I said that part already. But what you do is you engage in them, and I look at them and see what's going on. And we really want to get good conversation. I'm not really saying it's middle of the road conversation. If you listen to me long enough, and thanks, Vladi, for that one. I appreciate you popping in there. And I really do need some commentary and people just kind of busting my chops as well, because that's what this is about. That's what conversation is about. It's really not middle of the road. My actual leanings are slightly right of center. So you get that from there. My commentary, if you hear me enough, I'm not a fan of Trump. Wasn't really a fan of Harris, sort of things like that. Just sort of like a politics from dealing with that. I have an actual background in journalism, so I have actually done this stuff before. But what I'm looking for is getting past the mainstream media, the forced agendas, if you will, from both the right and left sides that are basically pushing a sort of timeline, pushing a sort of narrative to keep people engaged and keep people stuck and people sucked in, because it's like crack these days. It really is like crack. So we put in other stories for you to engage in and you to tell us what we can talk about. That's why we have the stories you have listed today. That's why there's such a wild smattering between Trump and his legal cases, and Lena Dunham doing a story on Bankman-Fried, and Sky Jackson being pregnant, which in most cases would make no radical sense as a news headline update. But these are stories from various people across the internet and you guys who said we're conversational. So you get some conversational stories that you would not get into, and you learn some things that might not be in your normal sphere of influence that your guys would be talking about. There you go. It's there. Canned propaganda. Thanks, Vlad. You're helping me on this one. Appreciate that one. So what we're looking for you is some help to grow us, and so we can send more canned propaganda to the world, if you will. Follow us on our feeds. I talked about that already. That's on Facebook, on X, on Threads, and that tells us every day what stories we're putting out there for you to possibly talk about. We do need the financial help to keep things going on. These things aren't free. I mean, you see people doing their internet stuff. Trust me, they all do these big sponsors because they need sponsors. I don't have a large following, but if you want to be a follower, go to our website, click on the partnerships page, and follow us with a monthly subscription via the Buy Me a Coffee platform. You can buy stuff from our sponsors because we get commissions off those things there. But like I said, if you help us gain more people into the party, like, share, and subscribe, we get more eyeballs. I'm almost at the cusp of YouTube ads. Yay me. So that will help out as well. As partnerships work as well, I can work more industry stuff. I know all these things work. I've done broadcasting for a long time, so I know it works. I just need the numbers going forward. I also need more people, and this is an oddity that has so much conversation live, like Vlad out there, who is out there chatting with me. So appreciate that, sir. Appreciate you get up so early in the morning because that's a big deal. And like he's saying, the news is canned propaganda. I won't go that far because the news is my business per se, but it is slanted towards the viewer that they want to bring in for the advertiser they want to be fed to. So in order to get more actual conversations on things going out there that are lighter, sometimes heavier, sometimes, and just not exactly what they want you to hear, we do this thing here. That's part of what this thing is. Part of it was the mission was news was so crazy and I wasn't getting good stuff, so I had to go do the work myself. So I have to make it worthy of a thing. So thank you so much for joining us for Conversation Project. Do all the things. Go to the website. All the call to actions are there. There's way too many of them. As my friend O will tell me, you're doing too many stuff. It's going too long, and I know that. But it's just one of those things go out there. Special thanks to Vlad. It's Vlad Dad, and my glasses are a little foggy so I can't see. So thank you for the conversation in the chat. This is going to be a new one for people who are watching this or listening to this on the replay. It's going to be a little weird because I'm chatting with a guy live online, but thank you so much. Hopefully you will become a subscriber. Hopefully you'll pop in more often and just let me know how things are doing, how we're going, and make sure you're following the feeds and let us know what stories to keep covering for the y'alls, all the y'alls. All the y'alls is all up for this Wednesday, November the 13th, 2024. Even though this was a regular week as opposed to no actual election, already seems like it's been a longer week so far with only 3 days, 2 days in the beginning of the third day. It will be a new day. Life will go on. I have had my suspicions of how the new regime, I call it regime, just like tongue in cheek, happening for Donald Trump's going to happen. And right now, unfortunately, I'm seeing the things that I was afraid of. But we'll figure it out. We shall live. We'll have these conversations and we'll get closer to each other to make sure we are good. We thank anybody who watched in on the live feed today, whether on the X or on YouTube. Facebook's having some issues, so Facebook is issuing. If you stick around in about 3-4 minutes when I close this up and fit the buttons, we'll come back with the things you might ought to know, the fun stuff, birthdays, a history lesson, and a fun thing to celebrate for the day. Bread puddings on the docket, so stick around for that one. And stick around all day long. Follow us on the feed so you get to tell us what stories to talk about come tomorrow, Thursday, and then come tomorrow, Thursday, to talk about those stories on things you might not have heard.